Let's get to an awful lot tonight, including the clean-up operation in and around those New South Wales floods. We'll go back to Taree. We're also going to have a chat about, something they always say that happens to be the opposite of what always happens, something different about power bills. And I'm going to take a couple of seconds to explain not quite the fatal flaw in the Death Star, but perhaps a little design fault that is in part of the difference between the way the Liberal Party and the Labor Party works. I believe that'll be a good chat coming up a little bit later. But first, before we get to all the politics, and again, we will go live to those regions in a moment or two's time, let's get to a nice moment that took place today in and around that clean-up effort. Now, it is heartbreaking for the extreme majority, in fact, all of the people that are involved in this clean-up effort, depending on where you are, depending on the city, depending on how complicated things are. It's been a really tough couple of days. In fact, there's even some more that might be coming when it comes to extra wind and rain in and around now the south and centre of the country.
The winds were pretty ferocious today, and that was due to a strong low-pressure system and cold front, which we can see swirling away. It's this clockwise complex mass making its way from the Great Australian Bight and pushing into Victoria this afternoon. This generated widespread average winds, 60 to 70 kilometres per hour. They were howling all day long across South Australia and also elevated terrain in Victoria.
Now, of course, part of the clean-up operation has been farmers of all different kinds trying to take stock and see how much of the livestock has perished in the past couple of days. But the reason I start with all of this now is because there was one little very small ray of hope. It was captured, in fact, during an interview that was being done, I believe, with The Guardian. This is a nice moment when people thought all was lost, but it wasn't.
We put them under the bridge to keep them in the high point. They were in about that much water, standing in water, and it was still rising. Okay, we've found the little boy calf. Thought we'd lost one in the water. We thought he might have drowned, but apparently he's there. She had twins in the water, in the mud.
Look, I know it's a tough time for everyone, but if there is just a little positive story here and there to help get people through, I'm more than happy to pass it on. Now, before the election, the federal government was very clear in telling us that these are not the droids you're looking for, and despite the fact that they had failed to deliver on a central promise of power prices going down by $275 in the previous 3 years, that in actual fact, despite the fact that you were paying more than you were 3 years ago for power, it was still technically going down.
In the last year to December, in the official inflation data, electricity prices went down by 25%.
And of course, the Prime Minister and the Climate Change and Energy Minister more than happy to rub this one in. In fact, they have viewed the massive election victory, and it is massive election victory by the Labor Party, to be an absolute slam dunk that the suburbs, that the bush love the renewable energy scheme. They love the billions of dollars, nay, almost $1 trillion, which is going to have to be spent to move us from one system to another. And regardless of the fact that they broke a central promise, regardless of the fact that things cost more, well, they win. So if they win, then they win for all time. So what have we all been talking about? What have the pollsters been telling us for years and years and years? Apparently all of that gone, finished. Well, there was a little news story that happened today. And geez, isn't it so convenient that it happens just a couple of weeks after the election, not a couple of weeks before a cost of living election?
Power bills are about to soar with price rises of up to 10%.
And some bad news today. Power prices are set to increase by almost 10% next year.
Household power bills are about to go up by as much as 10%.
So the election result, absolutely clear. And the official result that you have to glean from the election is that people don't care about their power bills. People don't care about an increase in their power bills. People were convinced and bought off by a government that wasn't able to reduce their power bill, instead paid the power bill, or part of the power bill, to the power company not to pass on the endless increases. And apparently, next time again, I know you and I will feel a certain way, but once you hear somebody else saying they're complaining about their power bills, well, ask them how they voted. Because obviously, an extreme majority, at least with their first or second preference of Australians, well, they're more than happy with the system that keeps promising one thing and delivering another.
The best thing we can do is keeping on going with the rollout of renewable energy. No quick fixes and no silver bullet. That's the message from the federal government as the nation confronts an energy crisis.
Renewable energy is by far the cheapest form of energy.
If you've been astounded by your quarterly power bill, you're not alone.
Stick with the plan for the cheapest form of energy, which is renewables.
Everyone at home, how's your power bill going at the moment? They are reaching all-time highs, aren't they?
I think that renewable energy is the cheapest form of energy.
Energy regulators have confirmed the default market offer will rise by as much as 9.7% from July 1.
It is wild, isn't it? People tell pollsters the number one issue is cost of living. A big proponent of that is the cost of an electricity bill. They keep being told that the solution to the problem is going to be cheaper, but of course the construction of the solution to the problem is one of the reasons why the power bill keeps going uppity, up. And when given a chance to vote on it, Australians seemingly didn't care. 2/3 of people made the decision not to offer anything but a ringing endorsement of what the government has put in place. But maybe it wasn't that. Maybe people didn't fall for that. Maybe, of course, they believed that the Prime Minister was the one who was telling the truth, telling you that you only need a Medicare card to go anywhere near a GP clinic and you'll be able to bulk bill and 90% of people will be able to bulk bill and you'll never need a credit card again. Even though we learn that the general practitioners, the very people who would be in charge of whether they bulk bill or don't bulk bill, 92% of them have said they will not be running that system.